Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Another quick game of Interplanetary I Spy going on here. Back to Mars, back to Gale Crater, and I have a really interesting thing for you to look at today. And this was sent in by a subscriber called Keith Links. Thanks very much, Keith, for sending this one in. If you're one of the many people that send me stuff on a regular basis, please don't expect me to reply to every single email that I get. I get hundreds. In a week, I must get probably 300 emails just of people sending stuff in, and I will only reply to emails where people have sent me something that I can actually use, that is of a good quality image and a sort of a find that is clear enough for me to show in HD. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't agree with a lot of the finds you're finding out there. A lot of you are finding really good things, but a lot of them are out of visual range. This is the most important thing to remember. And what we have today is in visual range and is quite large. And here it is. Here's the credit here, found by Keith Link, 7th of April, which is only yesterday. That was when he sent it to me anyway. And what we have here is a giant statue of a person on the surface of Mars in Gale Crater, and it's leaning over on its back at an angle on a slope. And there it is. Now, before I go any further, I'll show you the Gigapan of this. I've got a couple of Gigapans up here, and you can look at it on here. Here's the raw image. That's the actual raw image from the NASA website. You can see it there, and you've got this rather large rock in front of it, which is interesting, but not really sure about. We got quite a steep slope, and another slope in the background going up the other way. And if you look at the Gigapan, which I've got here, this is MSL 2671 by Neal Thompson. A nice Gigapan this, credit to Neal Thompson. This has been colorized, but it's probably fairly close, I would say, to the actual colors of this area. It's pretty consistent with the color images that I've seen, both from on the ground and from satellite images. So that's cool. And the place to look is just here. This goes right over to the other side of the valley here. But this is the part we want. And we've got some interesting things here. And I'll come to those in a minute, but this is where to look. You've got the big rock there, and you zoom in, and there it is. And as you can see, the head here goes right back, almost as if someone's tipped concrete over it. Just there, and the head goes right back to here. It seems, at least that part of the concretion or whatever it is goes back to there. So let's look at the image up close, and I'll point out some interesting things for you. Now, this amazed me straight away. As soon as I looked at the image that Keith sent me, I was like, wow, how did I miss that? And there have been a number of people that have said in comments, which is interesting, how come that all these heads are stood up straight and facing the rover? Well, they're not. Many of them are toppled over like this, and let's go in close. Many of them are leaning one way or the other. Some are leaning the other way, some are lying right on their back, some are lying face down, which is why you can't recognize them. That's what, it's impossible to show a statue if it's lying face down, because everyone's saying, well, that's not a statue. So you have to see the face of the statue, really, to recognise it as a statue in many cases. And there is a distinct lack of statues with bodies, although I have shown some, because most of these things are buried in sand. So I'm sure there will be more statues appearing later on from the rover images that are more in whole and intact. We've been rather unlucky so far, I think, in the fact that most of them are buried like this in sand. We've got sand coming up here. So I would imagine if you dug into this sand, only just inches into the sand or a few feet, you would uncover the whole thing. It probably goes down, this could be about 4 foot, 3 to 4 foot long from here. Let me give you an idea of scale. I would say from this part here to this part here, which is where this ends, it goes right like up to there. From there to there, I'd say is about 3 or 4 feet, possibly more. It's really long. But is this actually part of the statue here? To me, what this looks like is a statue that's been damaged and toppled over, possibly in a mudslide. And mud has slid down, possibly from the side of the crater or the mountain. There's been a massive mudslide, possibly with water and flooding and all sorts, maybe a tsunami or something like that. I have proposed this for many years, and it looks like mud has kind of gone over it, damaged it, toppled it over, and then stuck to it and then dried out, because we have this kind of crust on the top here. This looks like a crust. I don't actually know if this is actually part of the statue at all. It comes right up there like that, and there's loads of it up here. If we look on the Gigapan, you can see it goes right back here, and there's all this other stuff. So I do think a lot of this may well be encrusted and concreted with sedimentary clay or mud that's then dried out and hardened onto it. Okay, you can see it there, like a big lump of dried clay and mud. And the statue, I would imagine, in reality, the head of the statue may be very elongated, but I would imagine probably only comes to here. Like many others that I've found, they do have very long elongated heads. So I would imagine this one would be the same. I mean, obviously I didn't find this one, Keith found this one, but it does match up some others that I found. And a lot of them are covered in this mud, this dried concretion, which often makes it very hard to recognise them. And but what we do have is some clear facial detail below this part here. Some very clear facial detail and a double chin here, a very clear mouth, a very nice intact nose, unlike many that I've found. Many of them have broken noses, or the noses are broken off. This is really good detail. And we have eyes here with eyebrows. There's an eye there. Okay, I mean, what's not to recognise about that? I'm sure people out there will claim they can't see it, and it's all just faces in the clouds, like a lot of people will say. Well, yeah, okay, whatever. This is one of the clearest examples of a statue found so far, I would say, on Mars. I have many on my channel. In fact, I've lost count of them now. The number of statues and heads that I've got. There are more complete statues as well, but a lot of them are broken. Arms and limbs are broken off, and there are sort of hands and feet and limbs lying around in some areas. But usually we just get the heads like this, half buried. So what I did, I took a clip of it and I rotated it to the left, like I've got here. I've also colorized this a bit, so that just kind of highlights the facial area, and then you've got the concreted part above it here. It may also be the case, much like an Egyptian pharaoh, that this head is actually wearing a headdress, but there's mud encrusted on top of that. So it may not be a bareheaded statue. It may be wearing some kind of headgear, like a helmet or large kind of hat of some sort, much like a priest would wear. But we've got all this kind of concretion over the top of it, so it does very much look like it's been in some kind of mudslide here, and it's damaged the statue and partially covered it. But luckily for us, the lower part of the statue here, below this line, is free of concretion and in good detail. Look at the nose. If we look at it up the right way, it's going close. That is a very nice, quite straight nose there. Very nice. And the eye detail is pretty good. We've got an eye in there. We've got pretty good eye detail there. and the lips are in perfect condition and not broken. Often you get parts of the face smashed off. Usually the nose would break off. Often the mouth details kind of all broken on some of the statues I found. This one is in very good shape, apart from the fact it's covered in concretion. There we are. What else could it possibly be? I'm sure people will queue up and accuse me of pareidolia yet again. But there are about 200 plus of these now on my channel, most of which I found myself, but many of them were sent in by people like Keith and others. And so if you're one of those people that's been sending in images to me, thank you very much. Okay, so there we are. What else could it possibly be? Let me show you a few of the other things in the area very quickly. I'll put some clips of this in at the end and close up, so you can have a really good look at this and freeze frame it and take image clips if you like. Let's quickly go over the Gigapan. There it is, right near this big rock here. There seems to be something carved in that rock. I'll show you that in a minute. There's a couple of other things to check out here. You've got this rock leaning up here, this slab. Very strange. It's got some weird detail on the end, like a circular part to it. Very odd indeed. What is that? Very interesting. But there are lots of kind of spiky and broken parts to these rocks anyway, so I don't think that's anything in particular. It's just odd looking. Perhaps some of you have a different idea. Who knows? It's very strange, but it's just the angle of it that makes it look weird. I'm sure it's probably just a piece of rock, a shard of rock that's split and leaning in an odd way. There's some weird things on this mound here. Now, this mound to me looks very artificial, like many of them do. It's far too perfect in many ways, and we've got this kind of structure on the top of it here that comes down like this. This looks like another burial mound, and we've got these rather strange things here. One of these looks a bit like a skull here, a giant skull, very large indeed. This is about 2 feet, but it's all kind of crushed and eroded. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got teeth. We've got a jaw here coming round. Well, it may or may not be. There's not really enough detail here to tell one way or the other. But to me, this looks like a damaged and crushed skull of one of these very large Martians. If you think this is a bit too outlandish looking to be a statue, let me show you it once more, just to refresh your memory. If you think that's too big to be real or it's too extreme, well, there are many other extreme cases of elongated heads on Mars, and this is one of dozens and dozens with a similar shape. And I've got one here, which I published last year. I'll put a link to this as well below. This is from Sol 172, so this is really early on. A nice Gigapan from Neal Spence here. There's another one, and it also has what looks like a load of dried and encrusted clay on top of it like this, in a very similar fashion. Now, does it mean that they were actually built like this and they were actually parts of structures? It could be. But there we have it. There's another one. Another humanoid looking face with a nose and nice eyebrows and a chin and a small mouth. This one that's a bit more eroded is facing the opposite direction, and it looks a lot more eroded. Let me show you a bit of that video. The video was put out last year in October the 15th. Incredible statue found on Mars. There we are. There it is. But like the one we have today, it's attached to this very long bit of concretion on the back. Now, that could mean that these are actually made in this way and they've been damaged as if part of a column, like a supporting structure of a building. Who knows? Let me show you this. There seems to be what looks like a carving here of another head here. Now, I could be wrong here. It's not very clear, so don't crucify me for this one if you don't agree. But let me just quickly point that out whilst we're here. We've got the statue behind, as you can see, and the rock in front of it seems to have an outline carved into it like this, which looks to me like a person, an eye there, Nose there. We've got, if you look really carefully, we've got jagged teeth. Like that. And we've got something here which may be an ear, don't know. It's very vague, but it's there. I could be wrong with this, but when I see rows of teeth, like we've got here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a jaw, and a nose, and an eye, the nose isn't much to say, to talk about really. It's kind of, yeah, but look at the outline. Got an outline around it, as if it's been carved, chiseled out of the rock. Okay, and there's the neck. So, is it or isn't it? But there does seem to be teeth here. So there's detail there. We just can't see it very well because it's in shadow. Because the sun's behind this, this is in shadow. So it's actually, ooh, blimey. It's actually really hard to see because of the shadowing, okay? So I could be right, could be wrong on that. But to me, it looks like a carving. It wouldn't be the first, and it's the same sort of elongated head shape as others that I've shown. Very similar. So thanks for watching, everybody. Clips coming up in a few seconds. Please like and subscribe. Keep safe, keep well. Look after yourselves. Thanks for watching. See you soon.